right, I am now joined in a very timely manner, and very lucky to get this interview, I believe, today, actually, especially with what's going on in the Middle East. I am joined by the Consul General of Israel for the Midwest, based out of Chicago, Yinam Cohen. Sir, thank you for giving me a few minutes today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to get right down to it. What is your reaction right now to the situation between Israel and Iran and where things stand here on Thursday at about 2:30 in the afternoon Central Time?
Right, Israel has been operating in Iran for 7 days now. What we're doing in Iran is a preemptive act aimed to neutralize two major and imminent threats from Iran. I would say existential threats coming from Iran. The first one is its nuclear ambitions, and the second one is the buildup of its ballistic missile arsenal.
Where do you see this going? Do you think it's going to be a long-term deal? Do you think, I guess I'll also throw this in, do you think the U.S. needs to get involved militarily in order to deal with the situation in Iran?
Our Air Force and other members of our security, I would say, operation are working now in Iran to secure the goals of this operation, which are neutralizing these two threats that I mentioned. It might take a few more days or even a few more weeks, but we know exactly what we want to achieve, and I think that so far we have pretty positive accomplishments so far. Regarding the involvement of the United States, this is totally and absolutely a decision of the American administration and the American president. We do not expect any other country to operate in Iran instead of us. We are operating right now on our own, and I know that any decision that the president of the United States will receive will be based on the pure interests of the United States.
Did you hear, I believe today, President Trump actually putting out a statement saying that he would make an announcement or a decision on whether or not the U.S. would go in and essentially attack Iran in the next 2 weeks? I'm not sure if you heard of that, and if you have, if I get your reaction to that.
Yes, our forces have been operating in Iran for 7 days now, and as I said, they had quite significant accomplishments so far. However, it is also clear that in some certain sites, like the nuclear site in Fordow in Iran, only the Americans have what it takes to actually demolish this very dangerous and illegal site. We're talking about a site that is located 250 feet underground, and it is well known that only the Americans have the capabilities to demolish this site, a site that poses a major threat, by the way, not only to Israel, but also to the whole Middle East and globally, to Europe and the United States.
What is your reaction here in the United States when you see protests that are either anti-Israel, pro-Iran, that type of thing? I know New York City there was some stuff going on at Times Square the other day where it almost seemed as if it was pro-Iran protests. Do you have any thoughts on that type of situation with all this?
Well, I have to say that I found it outrageous, but at the same time, I can't say that I was surprised to see that. Over the past year and a half, we've seen some groups marching in major American cities in support of Palestinian terrorism, in support of Hamas, in support, unfortunately, in many cases, of killing Jews and killing Israelis. So now they have another flag to wave, the Iranian flag. Iran, which is controlled by a regime that has spread terrorism, war, and fear, not only in Iran itself, but also globally. They're also supporting a regime that does not respect human rights, that does not respect women, that does not respect LGBT people. So while they carry, I would say, the flag of liberalism or progressive, they are actually supporting a regime that is totally the contrary of everything they are pretending to support.
Very interesting. Where do you see this going from here Do you see? I mean, like, I think this morning, Iran struck a hospital in the southern part of Israel. Is that correct? I guess we'll go with that next. Any reaction or update on the strike on the hospital?
Absolutely. So far, Iran has launched more than 400 missiles towards Israel. Thanks to our missile defense system and also the partnership both with the United States and some of our Arab neighbors, we have been able to intercept the vast majority of these missiles. However, more than 40 Iranian ballistic missiles have hit Israel. And what the Iranians are doing right now is targeting directly civil population. They target hospitals, they target residential buildings. So unfortunately, the amount of destruction in Israel is significant. We unfortunately have lost 25 people due to the Iranian attacks, and hundreds more were wounded. But again, what we're seeing right now is, I would say, just the trailer to what a real war with Iran could be. What we're trying to do now is actually prevent a much more destructive war, potentially just a few months from now, this time with a nuclear-armed Iran. That would mean that what we've seen, the destruction that we're seeing right now in Israel, could be 10,000 times bigger than what we're seeing right now, which means something we cannot accept, something we won't be able to bear. And this is exactly why we're operating now.
Another conversation a lot of people talk about when it comes to Israel is the biblical tie-in when it comes to whether or not the United States should get involved, the United States' role in helping Israel. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, people always go back to, well, the Bible essentially says the United States needs to protect Israel. So what are your thoughts there?
On a personal level, I get a lot of strength from the Bible and my faith, but what we need right now is conscious military decisions. This is what our Air Force, our Mossad, and other organizations have done so far with great success. And it remains to be seen if the United States will join. This is an exclusive decision of the President of the United States, and I'm sure that he will take the best decision for the United States.
I've been trying to educate myself as all of this goes on. And you mentioned Mossad. Is that essentially Israel's version of the CIA in the United States? Is that kind of what they are? Or can you explain? Because that came about, obviously, with how all this got going, at least with the taking out of multiple leaders in Iran and the stories that have come out of that. Can you kind of give a brief description of what the Mossad is?
The Mossad is Israel's intelligence organization that works out of Israel's boundaries. So without elaborating too much, they have presence, a global presence, and they have shown courage, innovation, and resilience. And I think that we all should be grateful, not just Israelis, but also everybody who lives in the Middle East, and also Americans. We should be grateful for some of the amazing achievements that they have been able to bring about over the past week in Iran.
One other thing I do want to make sure to touch on, and I appreciate all of your time you're giving me today. President Donald Trump, he just kind of talks sometimes, and he made some comment, it was either today or yesterday, about the idea of bringing Iranian leaders to the White House. He talked about how it would be hard, and he gave reasons because they can't get out of their country or whatever. Have you heard that, and do you take that seriously? What are your thoughts on President Trump even mentioning that type of thing?
You know what? I've heard the Iranians saying that they're not intending to come to the White House, to come to the United States, to Washington. And I'm not surprised, because over the past 2 months, the United States and Iran had been negotiating on this nuclear deal. But I have to say that what the Iranians did is that they did not negotiate in good faith, because while they were negotiating with the Americans, they were also secretly rushing their nuclear ambitions and accelerating the pace of their missiles, including, by the way, the development of intercontinental missiles that are capable of not hitting Israel and the Middle East, but also Europe and the United States. This is why I do not believe the good faith of the Iranians, and I think that we want to see diplomacy winning. We don't prioritize military operations over diplomacy, but even if we go on the diplomatic track, we need to make sure that Iran is engaged in good faith. And secondly, and that is the lesson from the past, we need to make sure that every agreement with Iran is monitored, because they have a very strong reputation of not complying with agreements that they have signed.
Is there anything else that you want to mention that we haven't covered? I think we've gone over a lot of it, and I appreciate your time.
I really wanted to thank all the Nebraskans, all the Cornhuskers who've been reaching out to us to support, to stand with Israel, and especially Governor Pillen, who yesterday sent a very strong message of support. He's not only an American patriot, but also a strong supporter of the U.S.-Israel alliance, and we are grateful for that.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, Consul General Yinam Cohen. I appreciate it, and all of your time out in Chicago, and best wishes to you and yours out there in the Windy City as well.
Thank you for having me.